Yeah, for instance, in your books, in your book, The Borderline Times, I think you made a lot of interesting remarks on how our society these days can be kind of illness inducing sometimes. I don't know if that would be the right way to put it.
Yeah.
For
My
instance,
book is about the psychiatrization of individuals. A symptom that is a psychiatric symptom, and then it is taken out of society and it has to be treated individually. And I want to bring the symptoms into society and bring them in the context. And so I see that
of
society. So I see that these symptoms are always, they have a meaning in society. They have connections. And what a bad way of doing psychiatry is isolating the patient out of the context of society and treat them in some psychiatric hospital far away from the natural context.
Yes, just blame serotonin.
For example, blame serotonin, or blame the mother, or blame your boss, or blame I don't know what. So always look at the context.
Do you think in society these days we rush more? Then you're a little bit older than me. Maybe you've noticed a transition that we seem to rush more than we used to.
We rush more. I think we rush more. There is more pressure. There is more, not only pressure, there is also more stimuli. With all these iPhone-like things, there is always stimuli. Our brain is overstimulated, I think. Yeah. So we have to make place for rest and silence and moments of letting go, I think.
I think just making our time for things. Like, I notice that most people, they don't even make their own sandwiches. Like we say boterham, and we go to buy a belegde brood. We don't even make it ourselves. We order it in advance, and we order it
and we eat it before our laptop, and we mail to our Facebook friends that we don't see in real life. Of course, it's a bit too short to say that, but it's just to once again, it is a way to make people think. Say, oh yeah, I have to call a friend and I have to see him. Not only sending some WhatsApp or some SMS, but say, where are you? Let's tonight we can make an appointment and we can see each other and drink a coffee and talk about our life and about our love and about everything. And it's a very necessary human thing to meet other people, not only by our cell phones but also in real life.
Yeah,
that's my hypothesis. Once again,
we have very imminent, very very short interactions on social media, and it feels like
not only short but also virtual. And I think we need to see each other in the eyes and to hold each other's bodies, especially in despair and defeat and misery. When things are going wrong, then we need this reality of meeting in real life, I think.
I think that a lot of times we want everything to be glorious and fantastic. We feel like we can be in the newspapers now, the newspapers of our friends, if they scroll to Facebook and I can post this and they can read about my accomplishment and I be a celebrity.
Sure. In one way it's okay, but when it is only that, then we have the danger that the less successful things are going under the carpet. And
we don't share that we had a very shitty day, for example.
No. On Facebook, it's only party time and wellness, vacation, things like that. Huh?
We also have a lot of notifications, like if we share something and somebody liked it, or our phones start beeping. So then, from a psychiatric point of view, would you say that's healthy, or what's going on? Like it's like some craving of dopamine that we have, or
probably it has to do with these brain phenomena. Well, I think many people realize that we have to take pauses in this overstimulated context that we have sometimes. Not only weekends, expensive weekends in
the bongo bonds.
The bongo bonds, that metaphor that I used. But we have to, I think we have to slow down sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the normal life, not only in special weekends or vacations, but in normal life, how can we weave in slowliness?
How do you weave in slowliness?
That's a good question. I am I'm not living as an example or doing better than most people. I am also part of this overstimulated society where people come and they ask for podcasts, and they come with questions, and they have cameras and things like that. So I have to learn to say no, and it is not easy for me. But the good thing that is I can come home. I have a beautiful house where I live and where I feel very good. I have a beloved wife, and I can come home and be myself there, my easy self there sometimes. But it's not always perfect in my own life either. I can express these things because I myself also am part of this overstimulated life. It's not that I am outside of this society as a psychiatrist looking at all those poor people who cannot live and I know what to do. Of course not. I am also part of this rat race like craziness.
You're not a perfectly
no, not at all. Sometimes really on the contrary. I am not a good example of an easygoing life. I'm an example of an overstimulated craziness. But I manage because I have a wonderful, beloved partner, and
I noticed that helps a lot.
And of course, I have a wonderful profession. I think as a psychiatrist, I have a wonderful profession. And what helps also, that is that the things that I do and I say are appreciated by many people. That's not a bad thing for me, of course. That's not a bad thing. Huh? Yeah, I'm very lucky with my life. I'm very lucky with my life. I'm very grateful with my life also.
Yes, I think gratitude can really
yes.
help a lot.
Yes.
And what I also think is that it's very important to learn some acceptance sometimes, to accept that we cannot always be happy.
Of course. I start my book with a very personal story of my old father who was really suffering. It was really the last years of his life, very lonely because my mother died before, and then he had health problems, terrible health problems, and we tried to visit him and go there, but it was a kind of hard time. Of course, it was not a terrible time like people in war or people with terrible diseases or things like that. It was a normal thing in life, like parents who become very old and who suffer. But it was very hard for me. It was difficult to be fantastically happy when I saw my father, my old, dear father, just so suffering and so lonely. Yeah, so that's life. also my life. I gave that personal example to say, well, also this successful psychiatrist, whatever, has a normal life with periods of unhappy feelings. Last year, the book was already written, I lost 4 of my friends and people I know, and people of my age, which is rather young to die. I lost 4 people with cancer and terrible. Well, it was hard to realize that. Yeah. And then, of course, I was lucky to have my partner and to have my family and to... So, well, that's life. Happy moments, very good moments, and moments of, I wouldn't say despair, but of, a bit hard times. Even in my very good life, where I am grateful of having a good profession, having good friends, having a marriage and healthy children and things like that. My life is very, very good. And yet in my very, very good life, I have these a bit unhappy moments. Yeah. That's what it's about. That's life, I think.
Would you say that people sometimes, how would I say it, they lie a bit to themselves, or they create kind of an illusion of how life is, and that other people's life can be unhappy and they can lose people, but that will not happen to them?
Of course, that's what people very often do, but then they come, then they have these problems, and then they very often people come to me and say, well, then they have a talk about this unhappiness and this defeat or these problems, and then they said, "Doctor, this is the first time in my life that I've been talking about this with someone." Then I say, "Well, yeah, that's okay. That's good for me because that's my profession, and I've listened very good, so that's good. But maybe you should talk with not only with psychiatrists, but with friends or with family or with normal people about this. Huh? Maybe you shouldn't only talk with a professional about the bad things in life." That's one of my hypotheses in my book. And of course, very severe problems, there we need professional help.
Mm-hmm.
When people are abused, when people are very ill, when people have a psychiatric diagnosis which is very severe, of course we need psychiatrists and psychologists. Sometimes we even need medication and things like that. Of course.
I think I also read that from your point of view, we sometimes overdiagnose people.
Yes, that's one of my critics. That's what I said in Borderline Times also, that when we go on like this, we will end up with a society where everybody has a diagnosis. And, well, sometimes it helps to create a good therapeutical trajectory or to the right medication or things like that. But I think, why can't we listen to each other, help each other, taking care of each other without diagnosis? Just because we have a sorrow or a problem or we don't feel very good, let's listen to each other without diagnosis. That's what I try to achieve. Good care without medical frames, without diagnostic labels, without stigma, and yet good care.
I'll take my example. For example, I've had tests with a psychiatrist, and I have been found to have autism.
Yes, that's a classical example, of course. Yeah.
But
Of course, when it helps you, and when you say now I have an explanation for some of my problems, okay.
well,
But
I think it for me it helps me look in one direction, but then I notice at the same time, it's what sometimes my girlfriend says, and she's right that I make myself a victim. Oh, I have autism.
that's the
I
danger.
cannot do
That's the
this
stigma
this.
and the auto-stigmatization. So you may have, I don't know, but when you say it, you may have some autistic traits, but you are also all kind of different personality things. So we are a many mirrored room of identities.
Yeah, in the end, it's just one label. And
Yes, it's just
when you
one
focus too much on
fraction.
one label.
Yeah, so diagnosis is dangerous. It can be helpful. It can be helpful sometimes to have the right help and to have some insight in how people manage with life. But the danger is that the personality is shrinking to that diagnosis, and then it is a big disadvantage, I think.
I agree. I want to touch another topic quickly because one of your books is.
We're
named-
almost at our
I'm
time.
not. How much time do we have? One of your books is named Love,
Yes.
and I've read it and I found it very interesting. But in the end, it made me think. Now, what is your definition, really, of
I
love?
really don't know. You asked me what is the definition of a self, and I said I don't know. But of
I am
love,
really asking
I
you
really
difficult
don't know.
questions.
It is a mystical thing. It is impossible to define. It is that makes it so difficult and so wonderful, and so impossible. And impossible desire is the definition I gave. Huh?
Can
So
love only exist because of imperfection?
Of
Like
course,
love is imperfect.
Of course, yeah, of course. It has to do with the difference between two people, with the fact that we don't understand each other, and that we stay curious and we stay interested because we don't understand. It has to do with not knowing. It has to do with mystery. With why are we in love with someone, and why? That's even more important than falling in love. Why can it last longer than a one-night stand? Why can it last sometimes years and years? Why can it last sometimes lifelong? Very seldom, but it exists. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't really know.
But it's a question worth asking.
Yes,
think.
sure. Yeah. Let's not become cynical. I don't know. No, I don't know. So I keep on trying to understand, and I keep on making, and always the same reasoning. I keep on making the bonds, the interaction, the relation, because I stay curious. I want to know, and I know I will never totally know. I will never totally understand. So I want to know more. And as I know more and more and more, I realize that I will never know. I realize that I even understand less when I know more. That's really psychiatric talk.
Summed up the point of this podcast for me as well, because the more I ask the question, who or what are we or why are we, the more I realize I don't know.
Sure, but it is interesting, huh?
It's interesting.
And the not knowing is not a cynical not knowing for, I don't know, just keep silent, shut up. No, I don't know, so I keep on asking, I keep on trying. And the keep on trying, that is the love. The love is keep on trying. Knowing that it will never work perfectly. Something like that, I don't know. Maybe.
I want to ask you maybe 3 very little questions that I ask everybody at the end.
Okay.
They're less difficult from my perspective than the others.
Oh, well, maybe, yeah. Sure.
What gives you consolation in life?
Me, myself, personally.
Yeah. Or in
My
Dutch,
partner, my
it's
partner.
your partner.
My partner, yeah. Yeah, in the here and now, it is my partner.
When you have really
But that,
hard
of course,
moments.
it's not such a simple question. No,
No, I should have taken another
the connection with my partner, which works in the here and now, in my life now, it is, of course, it is built on the basic trust that I got from my parents, from my origin.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me the possibility to trust, and I had the very luck until today that I have a beloved partner that fits in that basic trust.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah,
I think
I
that's
can
very
explain there. That's the simple answer about that. Yeah.
Is there one book you would recommend to everybody?
Yeah, that's the book that I had a lot of citations in my my book, De Wereld van de Wachter, The World of the Wachter, which is Life and Fate of Vasily Grossman, a Jewish Russian author, where it describes life of many people. It's a big book like these Russian novels. It is a fundamental book. It's one of the most fundamental books of the 20th century, I think. Life and Fate.
I've thought about it myself because I always ask these difficult questions to other people. I would say Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Sure. Of course. There are hundreds and maybe thousands of books which can be very essential. Yeah, sure. Well, it's very personal. But when you ask me, then I say, okay, that's a book that really,
I haven't
really,
read it.
It really, it formed me. Yeah.
Okay. Final question. If you could write on a piece of paper one message and put it in the mailbox of every human being on this planet, what would you write on it?
Take care.
Take care. Okay. I think that's a wonderful question. So would like to thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, and I hope other people enjoy it and it makes them think. And
it is a pleasure.
So thank you for listening, and I hope it was not too heavyweight, the meaning of life and other stuff. And I just wanted to ask, if you like this, please know that I have read multiple books of Dirk De Wachter to prepare for this interview. I have gone there, I have taken the interview, I have had multiple hours of editing. So if you want to do something in return, you can maybe share it with people, or you can maybe even give a donation for the podcast.